The remedy. The remedy. What's underneath the situation you don't realize? So let's examine with a critical eye. Put on your glasses and let it magnify the truth that lies hidden under all those lies. Cause everybody has nobility, and if you look beyond what your eyes can see, you'll see they're just like you and me, and now we're giving you the remedy. Welcome to the Remedy Podcast. This podcast is a project of WEBB Squared, a North Carolina nonprofit that works to increase wealth for Black businesses through connection, network, and opportunity. Our host is Stephanie Terry, the Executive Director of WEBB Squared, and our co-hosts are Associate Director Rinnie and myself, Mashallah Salaam. I am the Media and Production Specialist. In this podcast, we hope to bring consciousness to the racial divide and speak on emerging new narratives about race. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you will enjoy the podcast. Hey everyone, it's Podcast Tuesday.
Woohoo! Welcome to the Remedy. How you doing, Rinnie?
I'm doing fine. Did I tell you guys that I have an art show coming up?
Really?
Oh. Yeah, at the Smelt Gallery in Pittsburgh, right here at the plant.
Nice.
So I've been working on some, I got a new painting done this week, but also having to prep them, put eye hooks in and wires so that they can hang. So that's what I've been up to.
Nice. So I ate oatmeal for the second day in a row this morning.
Cool.
Well, this is exciting.
Yeah, are you on a new diet?
No, but apparently oatmeal and really heavy, chewy, seedy, brown fiber bread.
Was it good?
It's delicious. I loved it. It takes a really long time to eat this bread and oatmeal. But anyway, so yeah, I am lowering my cholesterol, and I'm gonna see if it keeps me not hungry all the way till dinner. What do you think?
Keep you not hungry?
Correct.
Not having the oatmeal?
Satiated.
Oh, so are you doing like intermittent fasting between breakfast and dinner?
I am.
That's cool.
Well, not between breakfast and dinner, but between dinner and breakfast.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's like a 16-hour window. But anyway, so yeah, the oatmeal was really good. I put raisins and cinnamon and honey with my really chewy bread. It takes a long time to eat this bread.
Wow.
How long did it take to eat the bread?
It took like 30 minutes.
Wow, that's some intense bread.
For one piece?
Yes, it's called rumble. I'm being dead serious. I'm going to remember the name of this bread. So I got a question for you all.
Okay.
In what areas in your life have you been the most resilient? It's a share time.
I guess I could go first. It's an interesting concept, resiliency. I think there are periods of my life where I just acted. I mean, we had transitions in my life, but I've never really thought about the concept of resiliency until this past year living in the pandemic. I mean, to make the concept real, to actually think about what that means, and when I was like let go of my job and kind of like, what am I going to do with myself now that I'm not working and it's middle of, the beginning of the pandemic. And I think that's when the concept of resiliency just like, I started thinking about it a lot. I was working with the books from Brene Brown, Into the Wilderness, I think is the name of it, where she talks about being resilient. And so it was like to have the concept become a conscious concept rather than just something that's happened to me, And so I think probably the last year of living in the pandemic has been when I'm more conscious of, there's a song by Chumbawamba, and it says something like, I get knocked down, but I get up again. Nothing's going to keep me down. And I feel like that's been my theme song this past year. You know, I get knocked down, I get up again.
Who's it by?
Chumbawamba.
I have never heard of him.
We'll have to play it for you once we're done recording.
I've heard the song before. Yeah.
Well, the song that comes to my 52-year-old mind, R&B mind is, there's been so many things that held us down, but now it looks like things are finally coming around. I know we got a long, long way to go. No, they don't know. They don't know,
Wait,
y'all.
I know.
You know that song?
Yeah. I have black parents.
Okay. Mashallah, you got black parents. Ain't no stopping us now. You know, there's another way. I thought about that song. It's like, there's another way to think about resilience. It's like, how often have you had to deal with conditions that you don't like, but you got to get through it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta figure out how to get through it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mashallah?
I'm thinking about my school story, the one that I told at the meeting.
Yeah.
That's not really too much about business, but it kind of paved the way, I guess, to me discovering what I wanted to do as far as a career. So when I was younger, around 9th grade, I really felt like I didn't really know exactly who I was. I mean, that makes sense for being in 9th grade.
Absolutely.
But in school, in a predominantly white school where I can see the differences in the way that kids of color are being treated, and just in the interactions between the teachers and students, and also feeling like I had to compete in the public school system. I never really liked that feeling of having to be in competition with people, and that's why probably one of the reasons why I also never really got into sports. And it just made me really uncomfortable, and I felt like the overall experience, although some good, I felt like it was dimming my light. And I just realized and recognized that I was beginning to feel sad and just weighed down. And my mom actually pulled me out because she could see that in me as well, that I just wasn't really myself. And I was also, the way that it affected my body, I was also getting sick a lot too. So I had to miss a lot of days. And I think that sometimes when you're not feeling good emotionally, that can also affect how you feel physically as well. And I didn't learn that till a little bit later. So I did homeschool, and it was better after a while because I was beginning to get opportunities to meet people and be in groups and join groups that really helped me find my voice. For example, Dr. Patricia Parker, she's actually the chair of the communications department at UNC right now. And then she was a professor, and she had this group called Striving Sisters Speak, where I was able to learn about things like the criminal justice system and talk with different people. She had speakers come on. We did projects, we planned events. I even spoke at UNC with her, and it really showed me a lot. I was able to be on the radio and just different things that really guided me to figuring out that I wanted to do something with media, involving media. And that's really just something that changed my life.
That's an awesome story. So sometimes you talked about the sadness, right? And being uncomfortable. So, Mashallah, your thoughts are taking me to something that I was commenting on Facebook. Normally, I do not like to get in Facebook conversations, but a friend of mine posted something about how the education system is so outdated. The ways and reasons on how we teach and the tools that we use are so outdated. And so I commented on that, and it started this whole Facebook conversation. But I will lift this up. There was a reason, I think, why you were feeling sad in school and, feeling like you weren't celebrated. I've seen that happen to my children. At the time when it was happening, I did not have the resources. Like, I couldn't just take off of work because I had to work. I was a single parent. But I know exactly what you're talking about. And I remember being in college and sitting in class and literally like holding my head to say, you will not take my mind. Like, I said that. It's like, you're not going to get my mind. Because I felt like I was being like forced into a way of thinking. And I didn't have any type of evidence around that other than just my own feelings. But I knew, that's what I said to myself. No, you're not going to take my mind. Like, I'm going to be a creative thinker. I'm going to be a critical thinker. And you're not going to tell me that the way that I think about something is wrong. So anyway, whatever that means.
But I think there's a story of resilience in that. You're sitting there in the classroom and you're being told to think about something and to see the world in a particular way that does not resonate with you. And you're sitting there and it's your own personal conviction and resilience that says, no, I'm going to reject this. I'm not going to buy into this. It doesn't feel right for me.
Yeah. With the cost, though. There's a cost that comes with that.
Do you want to speak about the cost?
Yeah, the cost is not, from a very worldly perspective, the cost is, not being able to see through. So some would say that I actually wasn't resilient because I was not able to get through college. And so that shows a lack of resiliency, a lack of see-through, a lack of follow-through, right? And then that's the cost is no degree. It comes out in, job criteria and, money outcomes. But that's why I became an entrepreneur. That's exactly why I became an entrepreneur, because, I get to create my own job and create jobs for other people, and I get to be creative about it. And I'm still learning, but I'm learning, on my terms.
And I think that's important. I mean, there are rules to life, and then there are rules, the ones that we internalize for ourselves. And sometimes the internalization of who we are as people have to take front and center. And so I think there's this, it's kind of an interesting dichotomy. You've got one hand, you have to live within systems, but then we have an equally real reality of stepping into our own sense of who we are as a person. And sometimes those are in conflict. Whereas like, that person really think that about me because that's not how I perceive myself. There's a conflict there. And it's like kind of like being in that, stepping into that middle ground where you have to navigate both the external and the internal. And somewhere in there, it is resilience to say, wait a minute, okay, I have to go on my own terms here. I have to go forward and be creative because I'm not resonating with what the culture is trying to tell me about who I am.
Yeah. And I think that, and I'm not, please, everyone that has done wonderful through school, I am not knocking school. Don't think that, because I'm not. I mean, some amazing, brilliant friends and colleagues that have finished school and are doing amazing work. So by no means am I saying that. And they got through with resilience. Like, I guess they felt the same thing, but they were able to stick it out and, see it through so that they can do the good work. And then at the same time, there are so many that could not finish, for a number of reasons. But that's resilience also. I think I remember me back my freshman year in college, and I said, someone said to me, well, I was like, why is this the rules? Like, this is a dumb rule. Like, why are we thinking about it this way? And I think it was a professor that said, well, I think I was in a writing class, and the professor said, well, you have to know the rules before you break the rules. And I was like, really? Why? Like, who said that? You know, you got to know the rules. You got to follow the rules before you break the rules. No, you don't. You don't have to follow these rules. Like, no, there's other ways to go. You know, what you learn in school? If there's a choice between A and B, there's like 1,000,000 points between A and B.
One thing that I realized in my generation is that we are starting to reject the idea that we need to go to a 4-year university in order to make it in life and to have a career. I think a lot of people nowadays are starting to create their own businesses and becoming entrepreneurs and finding their own path, and a lot of that has to do with social media as well, because I feel like people are more able to put themselves out there. You don't necessarily need a storefront in order to call yourself a business. Like, you can market on Instagram and you can pretty much do everything on Instagram or wherever. Use social media, and there's a lot of successful people even on YouTube having their own YouTube channels and making more than 6 figures doing that. So I think that nowadays it's a good idea to be smart about like the reasons why you want to go to a 4-year university and like have a plan, because people are in a lot of debt from going to college. And for me, I transferred from Durham Tech to UNC. And so that was actually better for me because I was able to afford it that way. I feel like I wouldn't have been able to afford that if I just started off at a 4-year university.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I was just looking up a statistic. I was listening to you too. But most small business owners don't have a college degree. I think it's saying here only 17% went to college. And I would love to have that data disaggregated by race. In fact, let's look up that research, Rinnie.
Okay.
But that's really interesting. And again, Malachi, stay your butt in school. I have a son that just became a friend, unless he has like something super fantastic. But stay in school. I am not advocating not going to school. But I am advocating that school can be redefined. Yeah. Right? And that there are avenues and ways to achieve your wildest dreams that are bigger than the school, just going to, the school route. And one of them is entrepreneurship. Most definitely, starting a business. Now, there are things that you learn in school that are not necessarily in the classroom. Like, I think one of the wonderful things about being in college is learning how to be independent, learning how to be a part of communities, right? Whether it be fraternities, sororities, whatever. If you're in a team, learning how to be a part of a team, meeting people from completely different backgrounds and perspectives, and expanding your horizons. Learning how to multitask, learning how to set goals. Like, there's so much that going away to college does that you can also replicate, right? Out here, if you're not in a school environment. But I want to redefine the school environment, because life is a school. Life is a school. And all of these skills, especially building community, building that village, building a network, building relationships, that is a must if you want to be an entrepreneur, because part of that is your resiliency. I don't think I could have made it without my friends, without my colleagues, without my mentors, without my coaches. There's no way that I would have been able to survive the challenges and tests and tribulations as a business owner if I didn't have that support around me.
Yeah, you had mentioned something about making connections, and that I feel like is super important. I also learned that in college as well, and somebody had said you're not really paying for just the school, you're also paying for the opportunity to make connections with people that you wouldn't have otherwise, especially the professors, because they say you're paying to have access to these professors.
That's right.
Like, they've written books, they've written
That's right.
Scientific journals and things like that. Like
That's
they
right.
know what they're talking about. So
They're our thinkers, right?
Yeah.
They're our thinkers, and we have access to that genius that lies in them. So shout out to all the doctors and professors and teachers. We love you and we appreciate you. We're very, very grateful.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what we are trying to build at WEBB Squared. We're trying to build that network and that support system for entrepreneurs as we develop our programs. I mean, that's one of the things that's front and center of our work is building connections for people, networks.
Yeah, and we are building them. Like we have them. You know, we're not even trying anymore, right?
Yeah.
First it was an idea, but now it's an actual thing. You know, building that village so that the entrepreneurs that are here and that we're to meet, we can support them in bringing out that genius, you know, because it's genius. And then so how can we support, bringing it out to full bloom? How can we provide, you may need some soil around you or whatever, you know, some more investment sown into you. How can we help you thrive?
I wanted to also make a point. I feel like school was definitely a good decision for me, and I really enjoyed my experience. I feel like I gained a lot of knowledge that I wouldn't have otherwise. For me personally, I feel like that was the decision that I needed to make in order to propel me into the direction that I needed to be in. And I learned a lot from being in school, like things that just really changed my life in a very good way. I feel like I became a stronger writer from having to write so many essays.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely been helpful for me. I feel like there are different ways in order to make that experience less stressful as well. Starting off at a community college is definitely a great alternative, and I would give that advice to anyone because it definitely helped me a lot. They had a transfer program there that helped me to get to UNC.
Yeah.
And we had a little community within C-STEP as well. So we had students who were going through the same thing, like wanting to transfer. We met every month. We talked with the counselors. They helped us to give us advice, and we had to keep a certain GPA. So we had to really be on it, and that really helped me a lot.
Yeah. That's again that there's community building everywhere. You know, it's just so important. So speaking of resilience and entrepreneurs, and we're always talking about race. Listen, y'all, we're always talking about race, even if we don't specifically name it. We like to name it, but we're always talking about race and in our topics in some form or fashion. We bring that context as a aging wise Black woman, and Mashallah as a younger Black woman, and Rinnie as an aging and wise white woman. We bring our context. We bring our identities to this work with no apologies, right? Knowing that that the identity that binds us is that we are brothers, sisters in humanity. So, but Mashallah is gonna talk to an amazing Black woman that owns a trucking company, and her name is Miss Shirley Gray. She is the owner of Vauxhall Enterprises out of Dunn, North Carolina. And she had a fleet of trucks. She started her business in 1991. She then had to shut down and start back up again in 2008. So she is an amazing example of resiliency. So, Mashallah, tell us more about Shirley.
My name is Shirley Gray, and I am an over-the-road independent truck driver.
And what is the name of your business?
Vauxhall Enterprise LLC. That's Vauxhall, Vauxhall. A lot of folks tends to, misspell that a lot.
Well, thank you for the spelling. That'll be very helpful.
Thank you. No problem.
Can you describe what you do?
I deliver transport freight, everyday freight for everyday needs for everyone. So what I do, I will pick up from one company, a shipper, and then I would take to the consignor, which is where I deliver the load. So it's basically all logistics and so forth, and I am the middle person.
How did you get your start? Did anyone help you?
No one helped me. I did this all on my own. I just had to work hard. It's just like when I first started this in 1991, I was only 26 years old. And like I stated, there was not many women in the industry. And when there were, you would see they were only with their better half, their husband, fathers, a relative. If there was a male, showing them how to drive and so forth. The industry was afraid at the time to have a total stranger, man and woman, together in a truck because it's such small quarters, and they were afraid of sexual harassment or lawsuits. So when I got into the industry, like I said, the gate was just open for women to enter the industry, and so I happened to be in that realm of women. Now, I had to work hard to do this because I was so low. When I mentioned that I wanted to own my own truck one day while I was a company driver, I was told by not only just the other female drivers like myself, but many of the male, no, the banks are not going to lend you the money. And back then, we didn't have community program funding for trucks. You'd have to go through the banks and the SBA. The process take years back there. And so many people have to borrow from their friends, family, or if they have good credit through the banks. And I was told that it was just not going to happen. But, and I really had given up on that. But then there was a story that really inspired me and really let me be very resilient. And if you have time, I can tell you that really story because it was embarrassing, but it pushed me to work hard and do it and prove them wrong.
Oh yeah, please tell the story.
So what happened was I was driving for a company and I lived in Indianapolis at the time, and I had some issues with my tractor, and so the company sent me to the nearest truck dealership to have the truck repaired, which was also in my hometown. So I took the truck to the dealership to get fixed, and across the street they have a sister dealership for used truck across the street. So I was like, while I'm waiting for my truck to repair, let me walk across the street. Not only that, they have some new trucks too, and I really was interested in seeing what these new trucks looks like, and they look so pretty, and I really wanted. So I walk across the street, and as I was walking towards one of the trucks, I saw one of the sales guy, and I was like, oh, excuse me, and I was very feeble and just shy at the time, and I went to him and I asked, and I said, excuse me, sir, if you don't mind, can you open the door to this truck so I can see the inside? I just wanted to see the inside. It's so pretty. I love the color, and I would just love to see what the inside of one of these trucks looks like. And he immediately looked at me and said, and he was African American, I hate to say the color, but he was, and he said to me, you have to have a lot of, and I will never forget it because that's what inspired me, what he said verbatim. You have to have a lot of money to buy one of these trucks, and good credit. And if you don't have good credit and you don't have the money, you're not going to be able to afford it. And he just walked away. And I felt so embarrassed. If you ever see when he shouted at the dog and his tail go under, and he's just so embarrassed. That's how I felt. And I felt like I really wanted to cry. And every day I go down the road, I remember what he said. And that's every time I see a truck go by, then I kept saying, I love that truck. I'm going to own one of those trucks. I am. And so, when I was ready and I started asking lots of questions, that's when everyone said no, including my own family member. My mother, she was just upset that I'm a truck driver, but to want to own one, and everyone kept saying no. She's like, I don't know why you would like to want to buy, everyone kept saying no, because the way the industry was set up at the time. So I was like, we'll see. And there it is. I contacted one bank, my first bank in Montana, and they approved the loan.
Wow, that's really amazing.
Thank you.
What was your greatest breakthrough moment or accomplishment?
I feel accomplished. Okay, I'm gonna do the business. When I got my first truck. When I got my first truck and felt, yes, I did it. Because I remember when I signed the paper and the truck, I was leasing the truck and I wanted it, and the bank approved the loan. And I remembered I did not wait until the papers were signed and the company said, okay, you can have the truck. I immediately took the truck down the street and have them take the name off that company and put my name on my company name. And then once I signed the papers, there's a Waffle House down the street, and I drove the truck to the Waffle House and faced the truck where it cannot be seen, and I jumped in to get into the back of the truck, and I jumped on that bed like a child jumping up. I screamed so hard, and I was like, oh my God! Yes. And I was like, stick it in your face! I smiled, I just kept jumping on the butt up and down, and the truck was just jerking. And the guy came knocking on the door and said, hey, are you okay? Rocking like this. And I was like, I'm fine, bye. I remember that like it was just yesterday. And that was so exhilarating. And I was crying, just cried non-stop, couldn't stop crying because I entered a male-dominated industry and was told I couldn't do it. And the reason why, too, because I have picked up, there was like so many women, when the guys were training us or were trainers, back then it was like you either put up or get put out. And yes, I got put out a couple of times because, you're not giving them something, and not really. So I'm like, okay, I did not sign up for this, so I'm out. And a lot of women were at the truck stop on the highway with their belongings on the back, and it was like that hitchhiking because it was so bad back then. And I was just happy to be one of those lucky ones where, the company protected me and made sure, and get rid of some of those guys and everything. But the stuff that you have to go through and the harassment and the thing that it was not easy, and then to be in a male industry and to be told you can't be done, and then I did it within a few years. It felt so exhilarating. It feels like, wow, I can't believe it, and so that was a really good moment for me.
Well, I love that story.
Thank you. That was an awesome moment.
So, what makes you most excited about the work that you do?
love my truck. The one that I have now. I call her baby girl, okay? She take on my attitude. We're girl power going down the road together, okay? I love people, and I love to know that everything that I do, I'm picking up and I'm delivering for someone, somebody need this, industry need this, individual need this, whatever. I love people, and I love to know that everything that I do, I'm picking up and I'm delivering for someone, somebody need this, industry need this, individual need this, whatever. I would like to say this, for instance. During COVID last year, I have seen this country shut down. I didn't get to come home. Every time I live in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and we have a Walmart distribution in Hope Mills, not far from here. And many truckers had gotten off the road. They give up. They just throw in the towel. When you travel this country, it was so spooky. They were hardly in the cars. If you did not work at a warehouse, to put products on the stuff, the state trooper will get you off the highway. And it was scary because the food had run out at the truck stops. Places were closed. Thank goodness, my truck, I have refrigerator, television, microwave. I have all the stuff in there. So I'm always stocked with all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So even before coronavirus, I had everything that I needed, both at home and in my truck. And I had to travel all over this country. And my goal was so strong to just not get any sleep, just keep it moving, keep it rolling, so folks can get their toilet paper, the basic needs and necessity. And I live in North Carolina, and I always make sure that wherever I was, I'm going to have to feed and make sure everybody in Fayetteville and the surrounding area at Walmart get there. So wherever I was, I try to find a freight that comes right back to Hope Mills. I'm like, I got to take care of Fayetteville and Hope. I'm sorry, I got to take care of this whole entire region, Lumberton, you name it, all of this region and so forth. So, and that was really hard because they dropped the rate drastically. That's why independent like myself, they all said, oh no, I am not going to run my business for that little bit of money. I'm sorry, folks are going to be on their own. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. I can't, that is not what trucking is about. We are supposed to step in, do an emergency, all the, these times. And so that's one of the reasons why I love my job. Because we have a saying in the industry, without truckers, America stops, period. Everybody stops. Yeah. You can't eat, nothing. So that's what I love about my job, to see how important it is and how everyone needs us. Because whether it's on a plane, train, bus, boat, at the end, a trucker delivers it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me. It was awesome being able to talk to you and learn more about you and your business.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We are so blessed to be working and having our office here at the plant in Pittsburgh. And we are so excited that we are entering into more formal partnerships with them. They are supporting us financially, as well as coming up with great ideas for taking the direction of WEBB Squared. So just lifting up how wonderful it is to work here at the plant.
Yeah, thank you for your donation. We appreciate it very much. And we've got people reading our emails and following our Facebook page, WEBB Squared Facebook page. I'm getting dings every day on people that are checking us out and going to the website. So we'll keep feeding you content, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you and meet you all one day. If you're already in our network, then we just need to like open this up. So
yeah, and we could do another plug for Patreon. If you want to join us in conversation, follow the links in the podcast to our Patreon page and join us. Become a Patreon subscriber and be a part of the conversation with us.
all right, until next time, the revolution begins with dialogue.
This has been a joint podcast of WEBB Squared and Afro Future Productions. For those of you interested in learning more about our work at WEBB Squared, you can find out more at webbsquared.org. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. This is our conscious conversation. We hope you will subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform. Join the Remedy Membership Forum on Patreon to join us monthly for our members-only discussion. That's it for today. Until next week, thanks for listening.
What's underneath the situation you don't realize. So let's examine with a critical eye. Put on your glasses and let it magnify the truth that lies hidden under all those lies. Cause everybody has nobility, and if you look beyond what your eyes can see, you'll see they're just like you and me, and now we're giving you the remedy. The remedy.